never over
Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday, 26th of January 2026. Wow, 226. That's great. Or not? I'm not sure. I'm not an expert on numerology. I hope you all are doing well and fine. Today we have 2 or 3 things I'm gonna try to read. Last time went disastrous. So I'm sorry, I had to delete my attempt to read a very difficult article about neuroscience. Too many hard terms and words to spell. I was defeated. I'm sorry. Today, let's see what happens with that. Let's start with this one. How your brain creates aha moments and why they stick. Exactly, why they stick. Let's see. A sudden flash of insight is a product of your brain. Neuroscientists track the neural activity underlying an aha and how it might boost memory, of course, because they stick with us, in our brains. Here's the text, so if I fail, you can read by yourself. Mute the audio, pause the part you want to read, and everything is gonna be okay. Don't suffer because my bad English, please. Let's go. Here are 3 words: pine, crab, sauce. There's a 4th word that combines with each other, that combines with each of the others to create another common word. What is it? I don't know. When the answers finally comes to you, it will likely feel instantaneous. You might even say, aha, this kind of sudden realization is known as insight. And a research team recently uncovered how the brain produces it, which suggests why insightful ideas tend to stick in our memory. Maxi Becker, a cognitive neuroscientist at Duke University, first got interested in insight after reading the landmark 1962 book The Structure of Scientific Revolutions by the historian and philosopher of science Thomas Kuhn. He describes how some ideas are so powerful that they can completely shift the way an entire field thinks. She said, "That got me wondering, how does the brain come up with those kinds of ideas? How can a single thought change how we see the world?" Such moments of insight are written across history. According to the Roman architect and engineer Vitruvius, in the 3rd century BCE, the Greek mathematician Archimedes suddenly exclaimed "Eureka!" after he slid into a bathtub and saw the water level rise by an amount equal to his submerged volume, although this tale may be apocryphal. In the 17th century, according to lore, Sir Isaac Newton had a breakthrough in understanding gravity after an apple fell on his head. In the early 1900s, Einstein came to a sudden realization that if a man falls freely, he would not feel his weight, which led him to his theory of relativity. Oh, I didn't know that. It was because he was thinking about a man not feeling his weight while falling? Wow. As he later described in a lecture. Insights are not limited to geniuses. We have these cognitive experiences all the time when solving riddles or dealing with social or intellectual problems. They are distinct from analytical problem solving, such as the process of doing formulaic algebra, in which you arrived at a solution slowly and gradually, as if you were getting warmer. Instead, insights often follow periods of confusion. I have an aphorism about insights. Change leads more often to insights than insights lead to change. You know, it's harder to get an insight to change your life than to change your life and then have an insight. That's Milton Erickson. You do and you learn. If you wanna learn to see, do something. That's Heinz von Förster, second-order cybernetics genius, or father of second-order cybernetics, is the cyberneticians making cybernetics of cybernetics. That's second-order cybernetics, a very recursive, circular logic thinking. Okay, stop. Let's continue. Instead, insights often follow periods of confusion. You never feel as if you're getting warmer. Rather, you go from cold to hot, seemingly in an instant. Or as the neuropsychologist Donald Hebb, known for his work building neurobiological models of learning, wrote in the 1940s, sometimes learning occurs as a single jump, an all or none affair. Yes, that's why it's not so common or not so often, happens not so often as the other one. That is, you do things different, slowly coming to a new state of mind. That's more durable and more easy to achieve. From a psychotherapeutic perspective, I am speaking of course. According to legend, the Greek mathematician... Okay, we know that story, right? I hope. According to legend, the Greek mathematician Archimedes exclaimed "Eureka!" after his body caused the water level to rise on his bath, suggesting a way to calculate volume. Yes. Okay, an abrupt cognitive shift in how the mind understands information is known as a representational change. Yes, what is a change? The difference of a difference, because nothing is exactly the same as other thing, you know? Even the equal symbol in mathematics, it's two parallel lines. These two parallel lines are not exactly the same, because one is up and the other is down, you know? But it's the most accurate symbol we could get to represent equal. Although researchers have inferred sudden shifts in understanding from the behavior of subjects, they have not pinned down how the brain supports representational change. During moments of insight, representational change typically occurs, said John Cunius, a cognitive neuroscientist at Drexel University and co-author of the book The Eureka Factor, Aha Moments Create Creative Insight and the Brain, the question is, how is it occurring? Insightful activity. While at Humboldt University of Berlin, Becker set out to uncover this neural signature of insight, given that it's nearly impossible to fabricate life-changing, field-altering insights in the lab. Her team needed to identify a simple task that could produce a sudden feeling of understanding rather than a slowly unfolding solution. They turned to abstract black and white pictures called Mooney images, which are made by cracking up the contrast on a photograph all the way so that the subjects, a dog or a coffee mug, for example, are unrecognizable at first. The pictures pose a challenge for human brains, which typically identify objects by piecing together the different parts. But if given enough time with a Mooney image, even a few seconds, the brain can rearrange the contours to recognize the pictured object, and trigger the insightful aha feeling, a representational change. Let's see the pictures. What's that? A clown? Click to reveal. Ooh, what do you see? I see a clown. Very scary clown. Yes! I forgot to remember where the aha moment was. It was too quick. To induce moment of insight in the lab, researchers used Mooney. Okay, we already read that. Over the course of 2 days, Becker and his had study participants lie in a functional magnetic resonance imaging. What? 2 days? That's torture. Imagine scanner, which detects the blood flow in the brain as a proxy for neural activity. And view a series of 120 Mooney images. After 10 seconds of viewing a single image, the participant would indicate whether they recognize the picture object. If they did, they would then answer a series of questions about the suddenness, positive emotion, and certainty associated with their experience. 3 measures that have been linked to moments of insight. What were... what 3 measures? Suddenness, positive emotion, and certainty. Okay. Becker and her team then used neural networks to parse the fMRI data, looking to identify consistent changes in brain activity shared by participants when they correctly recognized Mooney images. They observed that when a participant noticed a hidden object, brain activity increased in the ventral occipitotemporal cortex. Ventral occipitotemporal cortex. VOTC, a region responsible for recognizing visual patterns in the environment. Yeah, to make we called gestalt. A gestalt is a whole perception, no? A perception of a unit, and that unit is made of a figure and a background. That's a gestalt. There's no direct translation for that word from German or Deutsch. The amygdala, which processes both positive and negative emotions. Yes, the last video is about anger in your brain, how your brain reacts when we are angry. You should watch that video because it explains a little bit more about this phenomenon of the amygdala. The amygdala, which processes both positive and negative emotions, and the hippocampus, exactly, a deep brain structure involved in handling memories. That's why stress difficult or affect negatively your memory, your capacity to short-term memory and to create new memory properly. This activity was greater for experiences rated more certain. This activity was greater for experiences rated more certain and emotionally positive. In other words, more insightful ones. The hippocampus is sometimes known as the brain's mismatch detector. Becker said, because it reacts when an input doesn't align with expectations. In this case, insight leads a once meaningless image to gain meaning, going against the... Sorry, I can't read this paragraph. The hippocampus is sometimes known as the brain's mismatch detector. Yes, we know. Becker said, because it reacts when an input doesn't align with expectations. Yes. In this case, insight leads a once meaningless image to gain meaning, okay? Going against the brain's prediction. Okay. I think I get it. And this picture is... Who is this? Maxi Becker, a cognitive neuroscientist at Duke University. Let's continue. These regions, the hippocampus, amygdala, and VOTC, create a plausible network of brain areas behind representational change, said Cunius, who was not involved in the study. Okay. These findings finally connect the psychological theory with the neural mechanism, said Yuha Yu, a postdoctoral researcher in neurosciences at the University of Arizona, who was also not involved with this study. Okay. Everybody talks. Becker and her team likely found representational change in the VOTC because of the visual... What was VOTC? I forgot. Okay, the ventral occipitotemporal cortex. I was stressed, that's why I couldn't create a proper memory of this. I was stressed trying to read this word, so I forgot what was this. Occipitotemporal cortex. Ventral occipitotemporal cortex. Okay. Sorry. I bet you didn't remember as well, but maybe you did because you know better. If they had chosen another type of stimulus, like words, the change would probably have appeared in language processing areas of the brain. Okay. Once the team had figured out which brain areas support insight, they wanted to probe whether these regions might be working together to create a lasting memory, a memory boost. Since they began investigating insight, researchers have suspected that such experiences might boost memory. In his 1949 book, The Organization of Behavior, Hebb wrote that whatever insight is, we now know that it continually affects the learning of an adult mammal. Insight not only feels notable or silent in the moment, but also helps us retain new information as memory. Yeah, we can remember things, phrases, ideas from decades ago very clearly. These are voices in our head that guide our navigation of the world, you know? It's like principles. In chess, when we start a game in chess, there's a lot of possibilities. You guide your game under the premises of your principles, no? Open your game, take the control of the center of the field, and build a defense, take the center, and I don't remember what other principles of chess are. But if you play under these principles, the game play itself, basically. Arrange itself in a strong position. Okay, let's continue. Sorry for the... This memory boost, which which became known as the insight memory advantage, has since been studied in many types of problem solving, including the unraveling of magic tricks and puzzles. Wow! Insight memory advantage. When you have an insight, you tend to be better able to remember the solution, Becker said, compared to when you resolve a problem more gradually. She wanted to understand why. Okay, what is this? An iguana in a bush? In a tree? Let's see. Yes! Can you identify the object in this moony image? A few days after the initial experiment, the team tested participants' memory by having them look at more moony images online, including some they had seen before. Participants were better able to remember prior images that they had rated highly on the three aspects of insight. This suggested that the insight memory advantage was real, but the team wanted to see what was going on under the hood. Did brain activity during insight predict better memory 5 days later? The researchers found that the larger the activity boost in both the VOTC and the hippocampus during the initial insight, the better participants remember the moony images. The big change in brain activity likely makes the experience more salient. Becker said, and salient experiences are known to better encode long-term memories. What is salient? Salient experiences. I don't know. Sorry. Salient experiences. Let me see. Are moments that stand out prominently, capturing attention and impacting memory. Oh, aha moments. We're using a new term, I guess. Are known to better encode long-term memories. While insight creates stronger memories of an idea, it doesn't mean the idea is correct, okay? That makes sense. Previous work has shown that the quicker, more certain, and more pleasurable a solution feels, the more likely it is to be correct. But false insights can and do exist. In Becker's study, participants wrongly identified the subjects of more than half the moony images they saw. Of those incorrect trials, which the researchers include from the analysis, the participants reported experiences inside 40% of the time. In comparison, correct trials were accompanied by feelings of insight 60% of the time. It is getting boring. This article is getting boring. We have to continue. We are almost done. These kind of studies of insight in the lab will set researchers up to look at how it functions in the real world. Once we decompose insight into very simple tasks that we already understand well, Becker said, we can move on to more complex, truly creative tasks. Okay. More entertained activities to study. Insight into the future. As a self-described uncreative person, Yu has been particularly fascinated by insight's role in the creative process. Creativity is like a magic power, she said. A really big creative idea is often associated with insight. Yes, because a creative idea is in some way a leap in your cognitive world, and a leap will often elicit an insight or a half feeling. However, Yu is finding that insight's role in creativity might depend on the kind of problem a person is solving. In a recent study, she asked participants to come up with metaphors for scientific concepts and asked whether they use insights as they did so. The insight-driven metaphors weren't more or less creative than those Okay, the insight, no, the suddenly occurred driven metaphors weren't more or less creative than those created through analytical thinking, she found. Okay. And the participants were more likely to remember the science concepts behind the ladder. So I remember more about this process if I'm doing it gradually. That makes sense. This may be because, unlike the task of seeing a hidden object in a moony image, creating a metaphor tends to rely on slower cognitive problem solving rather than sudden moments of insight. Becker suggested the effects of insights therefore likely depend on the context. How many types of sounds you can produce from a single sheet of paper? That's an exercise of creative thinking in music therapy I used to do, or music education. I used to do with children when I worked in kindergarten as a music teacher. Oh, the next article is about music, but I have to go to work. I can't even finish this one. 5 more minutes. Next, you want to investigate insight in more context. Most of the insight research is looking at insight in the problem-solving context and in the lab setting. You said she hopes that researchers will begin investigating insights within many other domains, like in psychotherapy, in meditation, even in psychedelic experiences. Yes. Steve Jobs used to do psychedelic experiences and came with ideas, I believe. I heard that. Beyond offering a better understanding of how the human brain learns, these findings could have applications in classrooms. Cunius believes that applying insight-boosting strategies to teaching could lead to better learning outcomes for students. Insight seems to be a powerful and positive experience that generates accurate solutions, confidence in our answers, and strong memories. Yes, so I can say that insight is a very unconscious way to learn how to change or to learn new things, and the other slow process is more conscious. You know, the step-by-step process is very conscious. Conscious process with repetition is the way we program our unconscious. Funny enough. I hope that makes sense. Cunius believes that applying insight-boosting strategies to teaching could lead to better learning outcomes for students. Insight seems to be a powerful and positive experience that generates accurate solutions, confidence in our answers, and strong memories. Okay, I have to go. I'm sorry. I'm late. So I hope you enjoyed this part of the article. It's not so long. We only need... Okay, let's finish. 2 paragraphs. It's very intensive for a teacher to do this, but a lot of really good teachers try to get the students to have the insights themselves. Socratic questions about how something works, and that will burn it into their memories. Cunius said another aspect of that is it's very motivating too. Yes, because it's like persuasion. When I suggest indirectly something to another person, if the person arrives to that kind of insight, he or she will believe it's mainly because of he or her, not because the persuasion in the first place. I hope that makes sense too. Okay, goodbye everybody. Happy Monday. Let's start the week with good spirits. Big hug. Goodbye. Till the next one. Tschüss.
me a river. I cried a river